Hi everyone, I hope you're doing great. I've been having a lot of technical difficulties with this vid, so it's probably going to be half the time that I was supposed to do it. I had it almost recorded and then had issues, so I'm going to redo, condense it, because what is science really? This is such an important topic. Really wasn't planning on doing a vid today. I can't seem to find any alone time to just get it out there. Definitely has to do with the demonic spirits out there who do not want me to get this information out, because you notice every time you're trying to do something important, you get these stupid interruptions that like really get you so annoyed, and it makes you want to throw up your hands. But we're going to get this in. And science is just nothing more than an inflated word that people are using to push all kinds of dangerous practices. I have been censored, okay, on my prior channel for stating facts, and it's definitely the sacred cow, especially when you talk about the scorpion stings and everything else. A lot of people attack you. They say, you're not a scientist, or I see how people interact with each other online, and it's so brutish, and it's like, it's really it's quite disturbing, because you got these real life idiots who pride themselves on being so smart and scientific because they went to some type of bobo college, not realizing that the same entities that are controlling the so-called matrix or the economy, or the bankers and all that, that are using these dark entities to control the world, are just teaching them regurgitated crap that they want them to know. And they always say, like, what does school do? It basically just teaches you to be smart enough to do the task or the job they want you to do, but not to question why you're doing it. So a lot of like the science, when they talk about the solar system and these heavenly bodies, and you try to tell people they're luminaries, they're basically angels and not what you think they are. They're actually living forces. I mean, they want to scoff, they want to whatever, that's on them. But joke's on them, because prior to the Enlightenment period, modern science was basically nothing but the occult. It was an umbrella term for religion, magic, and science. So science just means knowledge. You can have the wrong knowledge, right? Because you see on these phones, these devices, I don't have an Apple. I would never spend $1,000. See how people are just gone? But on your Apple products, your coveted Apple products, like, you should question who are the entities behind all of these toys, because you got the picture of the apple, or the so-called, it's a symbol for the forbidden fruit. But we're all blinded by the word science. Science, science. Does anybody even know what the term science means? Has anybody gone to the etymology dictionary and gave it a shot to look it up? Because it basically just tells you right here, mid 14th century, what is known: knowledge of something acquired by study, information, also assurance of knowledge, certitude, certainty, from Old French science. Knowledge, learning, application, corpus of human knowledge. And when you go down, it can also mean a skill or a trade, just to know how to do something. So a lot of people think like they copyrighted the word, and it's almost like, the corporations too, they have probably, because anything that is non-scientific in their mind is considered taboo, right? It's considered not worth knowing. And so just really interesting. If you guys haven't checked out this guy's channel, you will learn a lot, because he'll break it down, and I'll have to do a follow-up vid, because apparently I can't get enough time to do a very intensive vid today. It's just one thing after another, of course, so I will not be dissuaded. I'll just break it up into segments. But the channel is called Let's Talk Religion. Really good channel. I'm gonna subscribe. I should have by now, because I like his vids when they come up. I like his talis. I was watching a little bit of this earlier. When I have more time, I'll finish it. Goes into the jinn. These are the real powers behind the modern science. Okay, they deal in the supernatural. They deal with the occult.
Whatever you want to call it. This trend has started to change in the last few decades with groundbreaking research done by scholars like Liana Saif, Matthew Melvin Kushki, and Noah Gardner, to mention a few. This allows us to explore a central aspect in the history and development of science and the occult. And indeed, that's an important part that needs to be kept in mind from the beginning. What we call the occult was simply a part of the larger category of science to most people in history. As Kursky argues, the categories of science, magic, and religion have become kind of forcibly separated by a post-Enlightenment paradigm, a separation that did not exist previously in history. Even a central and relatively recent figure in the modern category of quote-unquote science, like Isaac Newton, was very famously into things like alchemy. But this division between categories is very pervasive today and often in a kind of hierarchical order. Science is at the top, religion somewhere in the middle, and magic at the very bottom, being something embarrassing, irrational, and superstitious, far removed from anything resembling the mighty.
So you see how it was all one thing, guys? So again, it's a religion that's being pushed on the masses, and they even go into the term halal, which just means permissible. You got the Hand of Fatima, which I'll have to do a separate vid, because so-called white Portuguese have Arabic roots, and I had an aunt with that name, Fatima, and of course she changed it when she came to this country. And a lot of the practices that we do is very, very Arabic. Like, I'm not sure if I still have this up. If you guys ever seen an Afghan blanket, this blanket is very popular in my culture, or so-called Portuguese culture, but is it Portuguese really? Look at that blanket. How many of us have seen that around? Right here. And this is a very interesting story too that's connected. You can see that picture there, the satyrs, and that goes back to Zeus' name again. So I'll have to do a separate vid just on that, because that was a whole other thing. But you start to see, you know, that's an Afghanistan blanket, and they would call that today like a Portuguese blanket or whatever. But yeah, so a lot of the practices that we deal with now, people don't understand that the modern numerical system 0 to 9 is like, it's an Arabic number system.
This is what made them halal, or permitted. One simply asks for help from God, which doesn't make it all.
So he said halal, which means permitted. We'd want to stay away from the meats at the store, guys, that say that, because they allow things to be done to the meat and the animals that are permissible to devils and jinns, but not permissible to God, and it's not healthy for us to ingest that.
All that different from a regular prayer. What was abandoned for the most part were invocations or magic involving forces other than God, such as other deities or jinn, for example. Now, of course, there were still people who did practice magic involving things like jinn, as we will see, but ideally this was avoided and was generally condemned by the Islamic clergy. The way this worked, we can see, for example, in various objects that were used in talismanic magic, objects that were used for protection against various evils. One could have an amulet, for example, that would be covered with names of God in Arabic, or verses from the Quran, magic squares, and other symbols or seals that were thought to invoke the powers of God for protection. This is still quite widespread today, and we can often find things like the Hand of Fatima or other similar objects imbued with protective powers.
So this is very, very popular, and people think that there's nothing wrong with it. But you've seen horror movies where, like, the monster would have, I forget it now, the reference I'm trying to think of, but where the monster had, like, the two eyes in his hands.
And this is what differs a lot of occult or magical practices in the Islamic world versus the pre-Islamic or non-Islamic contexts, that one almost exclusively invokes God or his power through intercession rather than other hidden forces, which is also why it might be a little problematic to translate sihr as magic, because magic in our sort of Western European...
He says a lot of good stuff. I won't take away. Please watch the vid in its entirety. You'll learn a lot.
Sadiq in particular,
I'll put the link in the description box below,
stands as a central figure in this regard, and is held in high esteem as a teacher by both Shiites and Sunnis, albeit for different reasons. It's not just alchemy that is associated with the Shia imams, but all kinds of esotericism and occultism related to...
And remember, alchemy, guys, is the origin of where we get chemistry, right? And chemistry, all of that type of knowledge, aka science, is needed to make a lot of these chemical potions and cocktails, right? And so that's why it's really important. And he said something really interesting. I forget what minute mark, how science is basically like, or alchemy is turning something from its proper state into like basically not a proper state, because you're already in a proper state in your original form. And this is all about transmutation, and it's about using chemicals to induce biological changes. Isn't that what we're seeing today in all different fields, from the beauty industry to the fitness industry to the gender industry? And so it has a lot to do with this book. If you don't have this book, this is something you'd want to pick up, because it goes into so much about what modern science is really about. And it is a religion, and it's intertwined with a lot of Islamic practices. So it's really funny when people are wearing their face diaper and all that, and they think that it's scientific to do so, when they're just increasing their carbon monoxide levels and decreasing their oxygen. They don't realize that they're performing a ritual service. And in page 6, this is a really, really great paragraph to kind of sum it up. It says, modern science is but a technique of the imagination to bring into reality the operations of the magical intellect and the mythologies of the ancients with consistent and predictable regularity. This implies, therefore, that the magical intellect encountered so often in ancient texts, myths, and monuments is in fact the product of a decayed science, but a science nonetheless. Much of modern physics may be viewed as but hermetic metaphysics with topological equations, and by a similar process of examination, much of modern genetics may be viewed as by the myths of Sumer, Babylon, and even the Mayans given flesh by the techniques of genetic engineering. Don't think you can see that too well. It's really blurry. I'm trying my best here, guys. This is my second time recording. Don't you hate when that happens? I got interrupted, but that's okay. That's okay. We're trying to get some of this in before I get interrupted again, which probably will happen. Hopefully not. But they go, and there was a really good quote here that basically, it's basically like they're taking something that was, pretty much natural, and they change it. But he'll give you some of the things here. So astrology not good, divination and all that, but the different forms. A lot of people don't realize the medical industry is rife with this stuff.
But not limited to astrology, alchemy, ceremonial magic, divination, numerology, dream interpretation, talismans, and other related topics. Did or does these things exist in the Islamic world? Anyone who has a basic grasp of this topic and its history will know that it definitely did. But it can indeed be sometimes a controversial topic. I'm sure many of you are thinking right now, hold on, Philip, doesn't Islam forbid magic? Well, it's complicated. When we talk about these topics within science, the occult sciences, Arabic names that were used for it in the Islamic world include al-ulum al-khafiya, meaning literally the hidden or occult sciences, or also al-ulum al-ghariba, meaning something like the unusual or the strange sciences. As we saw, this wider topic also includes categories like magic, a word that is really annoying for scholars since it carries a lot of negative weight and is, surprise, surprise, really difficult to define properly. In a very simplistic way, we can say that magic is the process of affecting the world around us in hidden or superhuman ways, or taking advantage of superhuman powers to.
See, so you're taking advantage of superhuman powers. So how is that not religious? And in the scientific community, where do they get a lot of this knowledge? They don't bother to read ancient books like the Book of Enoch, and who taught mankind a lot of these practices.
Affect the world around us. The closest Arabic equivalent to quote unquote magic is the word sihr. And sihr also has very negative associations in the Islamic world, especially today. Translating sihr simply as magic involves a lot of problems, however, as the Arabic term could be used in many different ways by different people. Many, if not most, perhaps Islamic scholars today would claim that sihr or magic, perhaps better translated as sorcery, is absolutely forbidden in Islam. But in fact, this was not necessarily always the case. Now, this can be a very controversial topic. There are differences of opinion on the legal status of quote unquote magic and related topics in the Islamic world. Many will point to famous medieval writers like Ibn Khaldun or Ibn Taymiyyah and even Al Ghazali as being against such practices, thus representing some kind of consensus among scholars. Others point out that these are only a few minority voices and that historical evidence and other sources show that most people, well, didn't agree with them. And even in the case of those writers, they were only against certain occult sciences like astrology, but not necessarily others, like dream interpretation, for example. Now, don't get me wrong, there are definitely forms of magic that were universally considered wrong by Islamic scholars. The argument, rather, is that many people made a distinction between permitted magic, sihr halal, the.
So in their mind, they think that there's a permissible version, and the term halal that we see here, is translated as permissible. So you can't fight the devil with the devil or fallen angels with fallen angels. And this really goes back, like when you look at people like this, who, it's like a sacred cow. People don't think that they're under some type of spell or that there's some type of cult following. They make fun of Christians going and listening to everything the pastor has to say without reading things for themselves. Well, so-called atheists are doing the same thing. They listen to these so-called experts, let's just say, right? Not realizing that a lot of them have occult ties, and they're all part of like free Masonic lodges that has ties to Islam. If you see the highest members of these lodges, the fezzes that they wear on their head, and this would be a so-called political advisor or a scientific advisor to the so-called president, like we have today. When you got the Bill Gates of the world and all of them trying to tell the leaders of different empires, how they should conduct the people and what's best and healthy, right? And people, if you're not careful, if you cut out God out of your life, right, the true and living God, and you just allow the state to dictate what you do, which a lot of atheists don't realize, like, hey, you're a communist, you're letting the state be your big brother, be your mentor, be your, whatever, tell you how to raise your children and what you should ingest. How is that any different than having a so-called God that had the so-called Bible, right, with already instructions for how to live a productive, healthy life? So if you didn't know about John Dee, he was born on July 13, 1527, and passed away sometime in 1608. I mean, they don't even know what happened to his gravesite. They don't. Who knows what happened to his body? Even was an English mathematician, astronomer. So he'd be like something as the modern Bill Nye science guy that all the damn nerds out there covet, which the guy looks like the biggest charlatan I've ever seen. Astrology teacher, occultist, which they all are. Alchemist, that's your modern day scientist guy, or chemistry teacher. He was the court astronomer for an advisor to Elizabeth I and spent much of his time on alchemy, divination, and hermetic philosophy. I'll have to do a separate vid how they worship the god Hermes or the entity Hermes. All of these fallen angels who show how to do like enchantments and incantations, all this nonsense. As an antiquarian, he had one of the largest libraries in England at the time. As a political advisor, he advocating for the founding of English colonies in the New World, which this is really the old world, they say, in the Western Hemisphere. Everything's flipped, guys. That's why everybody is so traumatized, because there's just too many lies being disseminated. So, hence here I am trying to dash deception for you as much as I can. And science is nothing but modern alchemy, occultism, and a religion all in its own. And it says Dee eventually left Elizabeth's service and went on a quest for additional knowledge in the deeper realms of the occult and supernatural. He aligned himself with several individuals who may have been charlatans, traveled through Europe, and was accused of spying for the English crown. Upon his return to England, he found his home and library vandalized. He eventually returned to the Queen's service, but was turned away when she was succeeded by James I, which is the one who authorized the King James Bible. And he was a man that was brown. Don't let these whitewashed images fool you, because at the time, people don't realize that Europe was melanated, and a lot of us so-called white people that were in Europe were really the Berbers and all that. Of course, he died in poverty, and his grave site is unknown, because John Dee was a wicked man, and when you do wicked things, that's what it is. And they use talisman and all that stuff. There's nothing new under the sun. They've been doing this forever. This is an actual newspaper, guys, if you have never checked that out. But we've, I guess this is the Seal of Solomon, and they command, their so-called demons to do their bidding. But guess what? The demons will come and make sure they entrap you. And when you do that, you disobey the Most High, and you make them mad at you. So you're at the mercy of these demons. And everyone's trying to copy everything Solomon did. But he has a book called The Testament of Solomon, and he has a stern warning about these practices. And even in modern times, you're seeing right here, nothing has changed. We've all been taught the Seal of Solomon in school, because I didn't even realize it was called that. But yes, we've all made that stupid star. And they put, they have the magic squares. They have many different talismans to show you. They even said how paper can be a talisman. So documents, loan contracts can be cursed, any type of objects. Be careful who you buy stuff from. You got a lot of these witches online who are calling themselves Christians and saying they pray over their items. You got people pushing crystals. You're going to bring a lot of bad energy to your home. This is embedded in all our society. We've seen this in the government, in the highest echelons of the government. The attack on the Twin Towers, that was a whole ritual. A lot of different policies and laws were already written before the day happened. Okay, certain members of people were given the day off, and there was $3 trillion worth of gold or money missing. So yeah, and of course when you mark all the different spots, and of course it makes the sign of the Baphomet. And when you see different spots, there's been a lot of people, they put the maps, 5 points, the sacred number. His real name, or she, is Hallel, which is that Islamic term for permissible. You see this in all of, different metals, different patches. I can do a whole vid about a lot of the very strange patches and the stuff that's on these patches. Okay, and this is the Medal of Honor, the highest military decoration awarded by the United States government. So don't tell me they're not religious, because it's definitely a religion, and this is a multinational thing. Going back to Psalms 83, and we see, Turkey's in on it. Look, Vietnam, Singapore. Nothing new under the sun. You got all these images, and it doesn't end. Stars everywhere, the so-called wandering stars. And when people don't realize that there were wandering stars in the book of Jude, meaning like angels who disobeyed the orders in their luminary courses ordained by the Most High. People don't understand this is a very ancient symbol for the sun god. And you got most neo-Marxists today, they don't even understand any of these images or what they're looking at, and it'll be in a lot of their favorite shows too. That's why you gotta kind of like break the spell by showing over and over again. If you any free Masonic lodge in your town, in my town in Massachusetts, in Fall River, they had the audacity across the city hall to make pillars like this. So it's like a portal, but there was like nothing in between. It's next to the courthouse. It's on a very creepy block. But yeah, they had, they don't have money to like help house the poor or anything, but they had money for that. I just found that fascinating. So it's like they have to give homage to their fallen entities. I mean, it doesn't even stop with a lot of these stars. And of course, this is the Freemasons, so you got the Islamic influence right here. Nothing new under the sun. If you haven't seen St. John, the Divine Cathedral, I'm not sure if this is in New York, guys. I'll have to check, but you'll see the Twin Towers. You'll see a lot of images. Death. Look at that face right there. I mean, that'll keep you busy all day. Very, very disturbing images. Where is that? I believe that's in New York. And I think that they're alluding to like some of these statues and stuff in the new show that's out, Castle Rock. You guys need to check out. I'm going to show you a quick trailer. This is Fair Use for Education. This is season 2, but you would want to watch season 1. And there's a lot of places called Castle Rock. And you've noticed, guys, in Game of Thrones, have you noticed that they mentioned that too? I'm starting to think that Game of Thrones was right here in America.
We're searchers, you and me. But you deserve a chance to make a place in the world. See, I'm a searcher who just wants to settle. Wants it bad. Just can't seem to find that place that'll live up to you, my perfection.
You want to tell me what you're doing in this place?
Well, that's a fine thing to say to a customer.
Customer who has brought the host of problems to my town, which already has enough problems.
You don't know a cock-a-doodle thing about us. This town is not a good place. We're running from something, aren't we?
And if people don't know, this is, if you ever watched the movie Misery with Kathy Bates, this is her, supposedly, when she was younger, showing her troubled background. And in that movie Misery, her name is Annie Marie Wilkes. So, yeah, this is very, very interesting. And they'll show you how, like, the whole town is, like, cursed, and, like, this fallen angel is bringing death and destruction, but many people are following it as a god, as a cult.
I will always do anything to keep you safe.
See that image? Like when you think about these Catholic processions, how people are just walking around totally enamored with these cursed statues.
People around here, they forget. forget the past. It's written in blood. I'm warning you. Something bad is coming.
And then you see Jerusalem's lot. So this is very deep, guys, and biblical. I'm getting like shivers because it's like the whole town is being possessed, and you start to look around and you're starting to think, hey, maybe this is happening in real time.
Can you listen to me now? People in places like this try to make you one of them, so they can use you and throw you away.
And everyone is so enamored with the statue, and then when you look at it, it makes you think of St. John the Divine or whatever. I guess I lost my place with that. The Seal of Solomon, we've seen this before, right? We've all made that star. And then in these Jewish temples too, which they deal with Babylonian, black magic. They deal with the Talmud. You'll see this symbol all over the place. Definitely not a place that you would want to visit. But I guess with the Seal of Solomon, you'll see these rings. And if you don't have this book, guys, Solomon warned against this because everybody's in these Freemasonic lodges talks about like how they help build the temple. This is really interesting on page 41. And I, Solomon, read this epistle, and I folded it up and gave it to my people and said to them, after 7 days shalt thou remind me of this epistle or letter. And Jerusalem was built, and the temple was being completed, and there was a stone. So he used like a demon from the Red Sea to help like pick up a pillar to use for the construction of the temple. Of the corner lying there, great chosen out one which I desired to lay in the head of the corner of the completion of the temple, and all the workmen and all the demons helping them came to the same place to bring up the stone and lay it on the pinnacle of the holy temple, and were not strong enough to stir it, and lay it upon the corner allotted to it, for that stone was exceedingly great and useful for the corner of the temple. So when a lot of people, you start to think like a lot of these old structures, like how did people, put that together? Well, it makes you think, right? And after 7 days being reminded of the epistle of Artaras, king of Arabia, I called my servant and said to him, order thy camel and take for thyself a leather flask, and take also the seal, and go away into Arabia in the place in which the evil spirit blows, and there take the flask and the signet ring in front of the mouth of the flask, and hold them towards the blast of the spirit. And when the flask is blown out, thou will understand that the demon is in it, like a genie in the bottle. Not going to even finish that one. But he ends up by going against the Most High. And it says right here, and page 45, and I, Solomon, glorified God and adorned the temple of the Lord with all fair seeming. And I was glad in spirit in my kingdom, and there was peace in my days. And I took wives of my own from every land, who were numberless. And I marched against the Jebusians, and there I saw a Jebusian daughter of a man, and fell violently in love with her, and desired to take her to wife along with my other wives. And I said to their priests, give me the Salmonites to wife. But the priests of Moloch, goes back to Moloch, the sacred bull worship. If thou lovest this maiden, go in and worship our God. So we sold out for a woman. Didn't he have enough women? Guys, so see how people, that's why the Most High tells people, like, don't go with certain nations, because you can get turned out from their practices. How many people are breaking up or have children because one parent is waking up to the truth, don't want their children to do Halloween anymore, Samhain, or so-called Saturnalia that they call Christmas, and the other one is so out to lunch, they think that they need to do that, right? Even though they're going into debt, their life's being, like, destroyed, right? And it says, I therefore was in fear of the glory of God and did not follow to worship. And I said to them, I will not worship a strange God, What is this proposal that ye compel me to do? But they said, by our fathers. And when I answered that I would on no account worship strange gods, they told the maiden not to sleep with me until I complied and sacrificed to the gods. I then was moved, but crafty Eros, 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 that name, that's interesting, I've heard of that name before, brought and laid by her for me 5 grasshoppers, saying, take these grasshoppers and crush them together in the name of the god Moloch, and then I will sleep with you. And this I actually did, and at once the Spirit of God departed from me, and I became weak as well as foolish in my words. He was the most wisest man in the whole world to show you without the true and living God, he'll make you deaf and dumb. He became stupid. He was stumbling on his words. See that? And after that, I was obliged by her to build a temple of idols to Baal and to Rapha and to Moloch and to the other idols. I then, wretch that I am, followed her advice, and the glory of God quite departed from me. And my spirit was darkened, and I became the sport, like the laughingstock, of idols and demons. Wherefore I wrote out this testament, that you who get possession of it may pray and attend to the last things, and not to the first, so that you may find grace forever and ever. All right, guys. This is a very, very important book. Everybody, you got the Madonnas of the world and all them in Hollywood pushing the Kabbalah. In modern science is nothing more than this, Again, I can go into this more and more and more. I don't want to make this long. Have a lot to do. And it's hard for me to even get some time alone to do this kind of stuff. But this was so important because everybody, they deify the term. Let's see, St. John here. Where is it? It's a cathedral in New York City. St. John, the so-called divine, really, really creepy place. And this pentagram symbol, I should put the link to this pentagram to show you how it's all over, that we've been taught it since very, very young. If you haven't checked it out too, look at SNL this week, guys. Watch the one right here, the devil on his latest accomplishments. I almost died laughing. They were saying how they're behind cryptocurrency, all the people out there giving out all their shekels for this, computerized digital currency. And a lot of these so-called smart people are all about science, science, science. Like it's some magic word. You notice how a lot of them push the crypto? That's a whole, who's really controlling that? You don't think it's like some really weird entities behind that? And they say it takes up so much energy, guys. It's horrible for the environment. It's like, I'll have to do just a vid just on that. But for people who want to deify this term, I'll even put it closer so you can see that it just means to know. It just means knowledge. It's not like some buzzword you can just use and put after like any type of dangerous procedure nowadays, they're saying. Most of these studies that they put out there saying something's good for you is complete horse crap, You'll see things like this, the magic square, there's many different seals. And so you have to be careful, and almost like in the book of Revelation, when the seals are being opened, it's like, yeah, all these freaking darn entities are coming here. And a lot of people say in the electrician world that a lot of the wiring that's done to conduct electricity literally has these same patterns. And just so you know, James 2:19 will tell you straight up too, you believe that there is one God, you do well. The devils also believe and tremble. So who's the real boss? And you got, like in this Castle Rock, you guys definitely got to check out this movie, because they're all worshiping this angel, and the angel's making them do like the most horrific things, turn on each other and everything else. And so it really gives an awesome backstory to that character. So it's on Hulu. Check out season 1 and season 2 because it goes together. and check out Psalms 86:10. There is only one God. This whole even modern Christianity was another deception, because they give you like this fallen angel or this entity and tell you that's God, and then that confuses people, so they like walk away altogether when they find out it has its origins in Egypt, when you have the mother and the child, and it's all about that Isis, Osiris, and Tammuz worship. I believe it reveals it in the book of Ezekiel. And it says in Psalms 86, verse 10, "For you are great and do wondrous things. You alone are God." So he is the only one we should be worried about. And he's not into all this divination and the stuff that we're doing. I'm going to put this video below so you guys really, really watch it and understand what modern science really is, and is nothing but magic and sorcery and all the things that anger the Most High. And you try to tell people today what it is, they don't want to hear it, but they'll call themselves spiritual and holy now, but they're full of crap. That's why I call out the law enforcement. I call out a lot of these groups, because you'll see the symbols, all the lawyers and all that, they're part of these groups. So it's all about the Freemasons versus the non-Masons. That's why people go to certain universities. Look at Yale University about skull and bones. That's a whole other thing. And you'll see people with no talent shoot to the top, because what do they say? It's not what you know, it's who you know. Isn't that the truth? You see birds of a feather. Of course, Mormonism, it's all part of it. You see this symbol everywhere. And this is the Church History Museum. Look at that. So where their power is coming from. Even in Christianity, they hide it all in there. This is like the same shape as the Baphomet, as the goat, right? Look, another St. Mary's Church. Look at all these weird images that they hide right under our nose. Oh, of course, it wouldn't be complete without the serpent and the garden. Genesis 3 right here. This is where we're at. Look at that image, huh? And you'll find this all over. It's like even with that Castle Rock, everyone's enamored with this image. And you'll see like a cloaked image, and they call it their angel, and they do all kind of murder behind it. It makes you think of colonization, right? They came here, and in all the different countries, if you don't bow down to Jesus, they want to kill your ass, And that's why so-called Christians get persecuted overseas, because they know it's a false god. They're smarter than that. You see that when you're getting called a star, you're just emulating these entities. And even if in that video before, he goes into how, planet just means wandering star. So you're just worshiping these fallen angels, even in science class, when you're like, oh, that heavenly body is Jupiter, that's Venus, that's this, that. They don't even realize they just partaken in like worshiping these rebel angels, these initial rebels without a cause. They're just giving them all the glory that belongs to the Father. That simple. And I can put the link to all these stars, because you'll see it in Heineken. You got it in, look, the Lucius Trust, the New Age symbol. It's everywhere. You got all these seals. You'll go to like all these stores, and you see people with the damn hanging cross on their ear and all that. I'm like, what the hell? And then you look at them, and then you can just see that they have so many problems in their life. And you don't want to bring any of that to you either. So even dream interpretation, that's why I don't like talking about my dreams and all that stuff, because, I don't want to do anything forbidden. I'm sure a lot of us did stupid stuff in the past, but when you know better, you do better, right, guys? And that's very important to try to do. And so, yeah, we're all getting blinded with science over there. I'm going to have to wrap this up, guys. I wanted to make this even longer. I'll have to do a follow-up. Extremely busy today. Let's see if my camera will work. If you guys haven't checked me out on my eBay, please do. I finally completed my lip balms, which has cannabism or cannabis infused oil in it, guys. Really nice. I tried, they'll come in a gift box while supplies last, while I have the gift box. But it's really great. It's already packaged with the plastic, but this is very healing for your lips. If you have any type of skin diseases or issues, this will restore your lips 100-fold. I'm selling them each for $20 with free shipping. So you're basically probably paying like 15 because the shipping rates are unbelievable. But I'm trying to do my best to get it out to people that need it. But it has cannabis oil, coconut, cocoa butter, shea butter, vanilla. It has a nice peppermint. It's a vanilla mint. I called it vanilla mint cocoa butter lip hydration balm. And olive oil is so great for you. And I did cannabis leaves, and I do an infusion for a few weeks until all the medicinal properties are inside the oil. So that's why, it will do so much. I can't even list all the medicinal benefits. You get it on here without being flagged by the freaking medical mafia. But it's so good for you. If you have any type of bumps or you have sore, I don't know, because a lot of people have immune issues with their body. So sometimes it can come out and stuff like that. I used to buy expensive lip balms and all that commercial types. Complete crap, because all it's made with petroleum, like a petroleum base, which is from the oil industry, guys. That'll damage your lips. You don't want anything to do with that. And I put this up, guys. If anybody's interested, I always give you guys first dibs because this is definitely the season. Isn't this so lush and gorgeous? So I sell clothes too, guys. I have two of these. I have a large and an extra large. So I have all different sizes for people. I get my hands on so many amazing products. This is new, never been worn. Beautiful pale gray fur coat. If you want to look so bourgeois when you go out, I mean, this will dress up any look. I wish it was my size. I would have kept it. I definitely would have kept this because it's gorgeous. But it was a new vendor and it was really hard to figure out sizes or whatever. So the large is a little bit too large for me. But you do want it to be like oversized and puffy and stuff. So if you're medium, this will work for you because you always want the furs to be a little bit oversized. So I'll put my coupon discount code too. So if you're watching this and you're a woman and you really like this, use my coupon code. It's private. I don't have it for just anybody. And it's called Dash Deal 10. Okay, Dash Deal. It's Dash Deal 10 for 10% off. If you purchase something with me, you'll get a coupon for 20% off. So if you purchase this in your package, I also give you a nice little business card with 20% off your next purchase. So you're always going to make out. This coat would have been like $150 if you look at coats like this. They're quite expensive. So I'm trying to be really, really fair and nice, but I still need to make a little bit for my time and energy. So I put that up for $90 with free shipping. So this is my channel, my eBay store. It's called Dia Dash, and that's the name of the coat. If you're interested, I'll just put the link to my store. But just letting you know it's there. I have a large and an extra large. So you always want to do a size up. If you're generally a large woman, you might want to do the extra large because you're wearing layers and you want it to be a little bulky, right? So it can be like, you could feel like it's, you don't want it too tight, and then you want it to keep you warm. So you need a little bit of room in between. But really beautiful coat, guys. So just be careful out there. Definitely check out the scene. Too funny the stuff they say in SNL. But every time I try to show a clip, they always hold my vid back for 2 days. So I'm not going to let them do it this time. So check it out. A lot of times they say a lot of like hokey stuff, but just the stuff that they joke around, like I was behind vaping, saying like the devil invented vaping, and now you're seeing so many kids having like health issues. And I was trying to tell people like everyone was dogging tobacco, even though the Indians were doing it for many, many years, right? And all this new age chemical stuff which goes back to alchemy again, goes back to all of this stuff. They just want to change you up, and you take enough chemicals, guys, you're going to regret it. So check that out. He goes into how, they invented the devil invented cryptocurrency and all that stuff, guys. So I would just be careful. Thank you so much for watching. I'll put up some content this week. I'm going to head out before I get interrupted again. And I appreciate you guys so much. Check out this Castle Rock show, because it's all relative too, just to show how we're all been under some type of hypnosis. Look up the term science, the etymology. See Castle Rock here. I'll put this introduction to Islamicate sciences, because he goes really, really into it, how this was all magic once upon a time. And so if you really want to study this for yourself, and so when anybody tells you something ridiculous and then think that they can endorse it by putting the word science or scientific at the end of it, you tell them to take a hike and go learn something new today, or maybe better yet, send them this video. So thank you so much, guys. I'll talk to you soon, and stay smart out there.